There are then other challenges to academic freedom. Among the serious challenges to both institutional autonomy and academic freedom is the corporatization of education. Major business enterprises are in the field of education and have been successful in commoditizing, branding, and marketing education as a product, affordable to a few and out of reach for the many. Teachers are reduced to service providers and students to being consumers. Commentators on this worrying trend tell us that the focus now is less on research and more on performance and outcomes. The high costs of pursuing professional courses, including law, in private elite universities compels many a student to borrow heavily to complete the basic level of education and then succumb to the temptation of opting for the highest paying job. A direct impact on academic freedom to choose one's career path. The use of digital technology has not made it any easier for academic freedom. On the contrary, the challenge today is sifting the fake news from the real, spotting the manufactured AI-generated work from the genuinely researched ones, and shutting out the garbage that the net is host to. How does one protect impressionable minds from the onslaught of WhatsApp forwards, where half-baked opinions based on misinformation passes off for expert opinion? In this scenario, the internet has the potential of posing yet another threat to academic freedom. Add to this the fact that most campuses today are fortresses, where CCTV cameras facilitate constant surveillance and biometric attendance is the norm. Campus violence is on the rise, as is drug abuse. Police everywhere are infiltrating student WhatsApp groups. The faculty too is under their radar. Signing of letter petitions protesting arbitrary actions of the government or even of right-wing groups and their role models invites show-cause notice to the faculty for crossing the line. Loss of institutional autonomy is felt most when the control is sought to be exercised over what can constitute the syllabus and the reading material that can be referred to. This concerns both schools and colleges. The RSS has an educational wing called Vidya Bharati. As of today, if you go on the website, it tells you that the Vidya Bharati runs as many as 12,754 formal schools, hosting 3.2 million students, and 12,654 informal schools, hosting 2.45 million students. And it also employs 1.5 lakh teachers. Most of these schools are affiliated to the CBSE, various state boards, and the National Institute of Open Schooling. Vidya Bharati's books are published in Hindi and 12 other regional languages, including Bengali, Tamil, and Odia. And they are taught in addition to the government-approved curriculum. A question and answer on page 5 of Bodhmala 4, a textbook on cultural knowledge intended for class 4 students, reads like this. Question: which are the countries along our present-day border that were once part of a country? Answer: Brahmadesh (brackets Myanmar), Bangladesh to the east, Pakistan and Afghanistan to the west, Tibet, Nepal and Bhutan to the north, and Sri Lanka to the south. A teacher's guidebook, part of the same series, makes this amazing claim. Earlier, Hindu culture prevailed all over Jambudweep. What we call Asia today was the ancient Jambudweep. The whole of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, Kazakhstan, Israel, Russia, Mongolia, China, Myanmar, Indonesia, Malaysia, Java, Sumatra, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan and Afghanistan were part of it. So a teacher is supposed to teach this to class 4 students. A teacher's guidebook. All this may not be cause for worry if it weren't part of the general push for revival of what is now termed as Indian knowledge systems. These ideas appear to have percolated into the curriculum of formal institutions like the National Institute of Open Schooling, which has already included in its curriculum the claims of Kannada's atomic theory, Sushruta's plastic surgery, and Vedic mathematics. The book Vaimanika Shastra is cited in NCERT's new module on the Chandrayaan mission for seemingly revealing that our civilization had the knowledge of flying vehicles. This could also explain ISRO chief Somnath claiming in 2023 that major scientific developments in branches like metallurgy, astrology, astronomy, aeronautical sciences, and physics took place in ancient India and were later taken to Europe by the Arabs. Textbooks on history across grades and political science for classes 11 and 12 have been particular targets for retelling and rewriting. Last month, the press reported the students in government schools in Delhi will soon study about the RSS alongside freedom fighters under a new educational initiative called Rashtriya Niti. Another news item disclosed that RSS will be opening Sainik schools to train students for the armed forces. A long-time watcher of the Hindu right-wing groups, Nilanjan Mukhopadhyaya, said that the idea behind the RSS operating such a large network of schools across the country is to catch the Hindu minds young and instill the idea of ancient Hindu invincibility, a past when Hindu India was the dominant race all over the world, and that the golden bird of Indian civilization was destroyed by 1,000 years of slavery, first in the hands of Muslims and then the Christian colonial powers. Then there are a slew of directives to universities and institutes of higher learning from the UGC. This extends from organizing meditation sessions developed by Sri Ravi Shankar's agency, the Art of Living Foundation, to celebrating events and festivals within campuses. There are revisions to syllabuses and reading lists that do not pass the muster of right-wing groups. The forcible removal of the essay titled 300 Ramayanas, 5 Examples and 3 Thoughts on Translation by noted literature A.K. Ramanujan has been removed from the list of reading materials for the BA Honours course in the Delhi University. Then you have the complete takeover of the Indian Council for Historical Research, the Archaeological Survey of India, the Indian Science Congress, the appointments as directors of the various IITs and the IIMs, the vice chancellors of various universities, including the Nalanda University and even Vishwa Bharati, and even recently the Film and Television Institute of India. When one steps back to view the changes in the past decade in the field of education, it is striking how persistent, deep, and pervasive has been the effort to capture the popular imagination of not just the public, but of young, impressionable minds. There is a concerted attempt to purge it of anything that can be seen as questioning the policies and actions of the ruling establishment. There is a smugness to debunking science and glorifying past learnings. When you prefix liberal with left and misspell secular as secular, deriding intellectual discourse is relatively simple. What can be taught? How can it be taught? Who can teach? Who can be taught? What can be written about or commented on are all no longer to be decided by educational institutions. They are to be pre-cleared, vetted by extra-legal mechanisms and bodies. You can dream, you can imagine, but to act on them, you need permission. Dissent is not to be encouraged, much less tolerated. In the India of 2025, Faiz poem Bol can be recited, but terms and conditions apply. बोल की लब आज़ाद है तेरी, बोल ज़बां अब तक तेरी है, तेरी सुतवां जिस्म है तेरा, बोल की जान अब तक तेरी. Reciting हम देखेंगे or shouting Azadi in the campus of an educational institution might invite being labeled urban Naxal, to create Tutte Gang, Khan Market type, or even JNU type. I come to the last portions of this talk. Academic freedom in India throws up challenges of accommodating several competing interests, and on top of it, social inequalities exacerbated by caste, class, and communal prejudices. The Supreme Court has, in the context of accepting a limited quota in Delhi's St. Stephen College for those following this Christian faith, reminded all of us that, and I quote, every educational institution, irrespective of the community to which it belongs, is a melting pot in our national life. The students and teachers are the critical ingredients. It is there they develop respect for and tolerance of the cultures and beliefs of others. It is essential, therefore, that there should be a proper mix of students of different communities in all educational institutions. Is there then hope? This is what most of us here would want to know. History tells us that even these times pass. Many a teacher and student is in some or other corner of the country resisting being taken over by or surrendering to the pressures and pulls of a repressive regime. They signify the resilience of the human spirit to stand out firm against the odds. Ours is a plural society with lived histories of inclusivity, sharing, and compassion. If we don't let that yearning within each of us to get snuffed out, there will be hope. Most importantly, it is essential for us to nurture that spirit and the constitutional values that we wish to live by, so that future generations will learn from our experience and know what to value and what to preserve. The changes that we have witnessed in the past decade may be of a more enduring nature than we can imagine. It renders the task of restitution of our belief in constitutional values of inclusivity and pluralism even more challenging. How do we reclaim secular spaces for academic freedom within public universities and institutions of higher learning? How should private universities be facilitated to regain institutional autonomy? How can we cultivate and nurture scientific temper and a spirit of inquiry in young minds? How can we improve the conditions of our public and government schooling to provide a hope for academic freedom from childhood to adulthood? How do we build on the space that we have on the internet and spread the good work through influencers? How do we restore dignity of the individual in the closed learning space without distinction on the basis of caste, gender, and general stereotyping? We have in our midst different models of education that appear to provide that alternate space, at least in the recent past. The Shantiniketan model or the Krishnamurti Foundation of India model, for instance. Can we replicate these or adapt them for today's needs? Our answers to these questions will determine the course of academic freedom for those that follow. In signing off today's talk, I wish to recall a marvelous judgment delivered on 11th August 1986 by the Supreme Court in Bijoy Emmanuel v. State of Kerala. The three appellants before the Supreme Court were Bijoy, Bino Mol, and Bindu Emmanuel. They belong to the Jehovah's Witnesses, a Christian denomination. Daily, during the morning assembly, when the national anthem was sung, the three children stood respectfully but did not sing because, according to them, it was against the tenets of their religious faith. Not the words or the thoughts of the anthem, but the singing of it. This led them to be expelled from the school, which action they unsuccessfully challenged in the Kerala High Court. The Supreme Court on 11th August 1986 reversed the High Court decision and held that the expulsion of the three children from the school was a violation of their fundamental right to freedom of conscience and freely to profess, practice, and propagate religion under Article 25, Clause 1 of the Constitution. The court ended the judgment with a flourish, reminding us that our tradition teaches tolerance, our philosophy preaches tolerance, our constitution practices tolerance. It exhorts us not to dilute it. The children were asked to be readmitted to the school. Thank you very much. Thank you.